Hello everybody and welcome to week 12. In week 12 here I'm trying to keep it a little bit light as far as how much new content I'm putting in here. I think you'll find that using checkbox objects is pretty easy. The main thing to remember there is they're different than radio buttons in that when you put them in a group box you can check multiples of them. Sometimes that's an advantage, sometimes it's not. I also introduced, since that's a pretty simple concept, I put in there with it your code line continuation. It can be very helpful to structure your code in a way that makes it a little bit easier to read. So take a look at that. You'll be expected to put that in this week's assignment. Also, you've been using variables as counters. Technically, when you add or even subtract amounts from them or add varying amounts, they're called accumulators. So we're going to be using these variables as accumulators in this week's program. And then probably the most important concept really that, it'll look really simple right now, and you might say, well, what's the point? But it's going to be huge as we move forward, is creating your own sub-procedures. To this point in time, we've just been having event-driven procedures where the user has to click on something for something to happen or get activated in our code. Now we can create our own sub-procedures that the user might not have any interaction with it at all, but we tell it at some point in the program to run the code by calling the sub-procedure. So pretty easy to do, but you'll be expected to incorporate that in some way in this week's program as well. So when we get here to slot machine, slot machine is the assignment this week, just one assignment, but as these programs kind of get larger and larger as they build on everything we've learned, the slot machine program asks you to do a lot of things, okay? So basically you're just making a little program that acts as a slot machine. Obviously that has something to do with random numbers for sure, and there's going to be jackpots associated with different random numbers that show up, okay? One thing is you're going to have a message box pop up that says the user wins. That could happen at various points in the program. You're going to make your own sub-procedure to make that message box pop up. Can be a really helpful thing for a message box in particular, because if you remember, in the message box we not only display a message, but we can display the text that's at the top of that message box, and then maybe an icon and some different buttons. Well, let's say that you have a bunch of message boxes popping up in the program, but at some point in time someone decides that the name of the program should change. If you had to jump around to all those different message boxes and change that one part in the code, that could be a lot of little tedious work. If you had a sub-procedure that's putting up that message box and is being called every time, then there's really only one line of message box code that needs to be changed, and you can just go right to that sub-procedure. You might not understand what I'm talking about now at this point in time, but once you look at the information, little video about sub-procedures, that'll maybe be more clear to you. Okay, now there's a lot to do in this program. Okay, I don't expect it to be you don't have to add anything that's your idea to it yet. Menu items, that kind of stuff. We will be revisiting this assignment in this program later down the road. So right now it's just worth 10 points for completion, and I'm expecting you to get that, the basic part of it working and all the basics before we leave for Thanksgiving break. So you do get an extra day in this week too, because we're starting it on a Wednesday, and this won't be due until end of the day Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So you do get an extra day in this week, as well as when we come back after Thanksgiving that Monday, that new week will start on a Monday as well. So there'll be an extra week, or an extra day in the following week. So our schedule does change a little bit. Okay, so we've got just a few little items, new things to learn about this week. We're combining them all with the things we've previously learned in our new slot machine game. And then, of course, don't forget your journal entry. Doing the journal entries each week can kind of save your grade temporarily if you're maybe running a little behind and trying to turn in some of these other programs. Okay? If you're having problems or issues, make sure you get a hold of me, send me a message, and so that I can answer your questions and help you out. Have a good week, and have a good Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you before then.